Hello and welcome to the Clark Athletic Center Gymnasium. My name is Seth Dorensky, joined shortly by Doug Chin, and what a game we have for you in this one. It's the final game of the Little East Conference regular season. Both of these teams know what seed they'll be, but it's a momentous occasion. The final home game in the long tenure of 40th head coach Charlie Titus. He's been the head coach since 1974 when UMass Boston was a club team, and he will coach for the final time here in Boston as the Beacons will be heading on the road for the Little East Conference quarterfinals on Tuesday. You see the records. These two teams will end up as the 5th and 6th seeds in the upcoming Little East Conference quarterfinals. The two teams just played in the women's game with UMass Boston earning a big win, and in fact, those two teams will actually face off as the 3rd and 6th seed with UMass Boston hosting on Tuesday night. We'll check out the team leaders right now. Rather, the pregame team stats. Looking at the stats for the Beacons, UMass Boston, a pretty good scoring team, 76.2, just midway through the conference ladder, though. Western Connecticut State, second in the conference, 81.4 points per game. Not a good rebounding team, negative 4.9. That's towards the bottom of the conference, and that's where the Beacons will look to earn a big advantage in the second meeting between these two squads. The first time they met, it was Western Connecticut State earning an 82-70 victory, as we'll check out the team leaders right now. And UMass Boston with one of the leading scorers in the conference, sitting 4th overall, Carl Joseph. The other side, Kendall Marquez, just 12.5 points per game. This is a Western Connecticut State team that scores in bunches, but they look to a lot of different players to come up with production. Carl Adnor sits second in the conference with his 10.5 rebounds per game. And then for both of these teams, some of the glue players. Gregory Young has been that player for UMass Boston this season. The senior out of Massachusetts, he's been phenomenal. 3.2 assists, 2.3 steals, 1.3 blocks, averaging close to 15 points per game. As we will look at the all-time series right now between the two sides. It's been one that Western Connecticut has dominated for the large part, winning 35 of 48 all-time meetings, 15 of the past 17, but UMass Boston got a win back in 2013. First matchup was really close. The Beacons held a 6-point lead midway through the second half, ended up falling by 12. As UMass Boston couldn't find a way past the Colonials down in Danbury. 3 minutes left on the clock before the Senior Day ceremony. We'll look at our players to watch, and it's those 5 seniors. You see from left to right, Gregory Young, Stephen McGuire, Carl Joseph, the lone 4-year player, Ivan Cutts Jr., and Luke Ulysses. All 4 of the 5 Beacons players are actually the team's captains. Ivan Cutts, the lone non-captain in his first season with UMass Boston. Now I'm joined in here by Doug Chin. And Doug, this group has done so much over their 4 years. You see it up top. Led the program to the first winning season since 05-06. UMass Boston currently 13-11. The worst they can finish is 500 if they were to lose today and then lose on Tuesday. And it means a lot coming off an 0-14 conference season to be in this situation where they're above 500 and to have a packed gymnasium here. Really the most fans we've seen for a Beacons basketball game in quite a while.
Yeah, it's a great thing to have that emotion to draw on. And just the success that this team has had, as you mentioned, only one 4-year player, but still, that means something to these seniors to be able to play here at home and to be able to build on the successes that they've had in the past and build up into the success that they've had here this year.
We're going to take a brief commercial break, and then we'll be back with the rest of our pregame show, as there's going to be a couple surprises throughout today's game. Know one of them in the back of my head, and hopefully it'll be a pretty fun surprise for at least one lucky young lady in the stands.
All right, welcome back here to the Clark Athletic Center. Doug Chin, Seth Dorensky here with you on Senior Day for Game 2 of this men's-women's basketball doubleheader and Little League's conference finale. And Seth, you've been around this team all year, and what is this game going to mean to these seniors?
Oh, I think it means the world. You look at a group of 5 players who are coming from such different backgrounds. Luke Ulysses and Gregory Young both found their way over to Roxbury Community College, not too far away from here, for their first 2 seasons. They've been beacons for each of the past 2 years, although Luke Ulysses was a mid-season transfer last year, so a year and a half. You look at Stephen McGuire coming all the way from Rancho Cucamonga, California, where he was a junior college transfer. Ivan Kutz Jr. played at Division II Southern New Hampshire last year. And Carl Joseph, a 4-year player, a phenomenal athlete. He's been here the whole way. He's really the heart and soul of this team. But to come from such different atmospheres and to be such a tight-knit group, it shows how much these guys like each other. So now we're going to take a silent break as we'll show the colors and the national anthem here on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
Lovely rendition of the national anthem here at the Clark Athletic Center. Big events going on here today. We have Senior Day, and we also have the team honoring longtime head coach Charlie Titus.
And Doug, while we've got a second right now before the Senior Day ceremony, let's check out the starters for these 2 sides. Western Connecticut State locked in as the 5th seed. They'll likely be facing, they'll be facing either UMass Dartmouth or Keene. I believe, looking at the notes that I prepared, as Keene and UMass Dartmouth playing today. The winner, the 3rd seed, they'll face off against UMass Boston. The loser will face off against WestCon. And you look at this Western Connecticut State team, there's not maybe a star on this side, but they just have so many players who have put up big numbers.
Yeah, and that depth is really helps you when you're going into the tournament, because it's one and done in the tournament. You have one player that does all your scoring. He has a bad game, that's the end of it. But when you can rely on other players to step up into that role, it definitely benefits you going down the stretch.
Well, we'll bring you the Senior Day ceremony as the Beacons honor those 5 seniors, and we'll bring you the Beacon starters after the fact. Is Charlie Titus out there? The big thing about this day is it really is about Charlie. The amount of time he's put in, 39 years as the head coach. So they bumped it up to 40 earlier this week. They found a missing year. But not only 40 years as the head coach, but also 35 years as the athletic director. He's now the vice chancellor of special projects and programs of athletics and recreation. He's put in so much blood, sweat, and tears into this program, quite literally. It's a great day for him, and he really wanted the focus to be on his players because of how much effort they've put in. And these guys, such talented athletes, it's a chance for them to be recognized in front of their home fans.
Yeah, and it's great when you have an opportunity to bring both families out here. And as you mentioned, Coach Titus, he was hugely influential in just getting this program started as an athletic department. and obviously serving as the head coach. One of the things that he's always said is that it's about the players, it's about the student athletes. He's always looked out for them, and no different today. Today, to honor him, he wants to make sure that his players are getting the recognition as well.
See the first player out there, it's Ivan Kutch Jr. Ivan played at Southern New Hampshire last year, hasn't seen as much time, but one of the nice things about Ivan, he's a very quiet, strong guy who the guys love playing with, and he's described as one of the most athletic players on the entire team. He can jump out of the gym. It's just trying to put it all together, and it's difficult when you jump from program to program, but the Beacons certainly have been very happy to have him as they're going to honor Stephen McGuire now. McGuire out of Rancho Cucamonga, California. It's his second year with the program, and he's just such a great guy, just always smiling. He doesn't always see as many minutes, but he's definitely made a big impact in his years with the team. A great three-point shooter, being a little bit undersized at 6'4", 205, still willing to go down there, bang on the boards. And while we mentioned having that special moment, we'll let Stephen bring the moment to you right now here on the Beacons Broadcast Network. One of the more unique things that you'll see at a basketball game this season, at least I would assume. I don't know what basketball games you're going to. But Stephen, 25 years old. His girlfriend is 26. She came with him, and the entire team celebrating. And that's the kind of energy that Stephen emanates on a daily basis. His teammates absolutely love him, as his girlfriend clearly said yes. As now that she's his fiancée, I should say. And she will head back to the stand. She's at all the games, a big-time supporter of the program, and that's just another great moment in a day that should be filled with tons of them. This looks like Gregory Young is going to be our third senior, and Gregory Young is just one of those players who, a local guy, Greg out of Dorchester, played at Roxbury Community College, just a phenomenal athlete, great player on both sides of the ball, leads the Beacons in assists, steals, blocks, second leading scorer, third leading rebounder, and he's really seen an evolution in his game. I talked to Charlie earlier this week, and we'll have the full 6-minute interview that was cut down from an 18-minute interview. He had so many things to say, but one of the things he said about Greg was he came in so raw, and he's seen such an evolution in his game to be such a huge member of this team on both sides of the ball. He was so happy with the way that Greg has performed this season, and really a deserving player to be honored today.
And Luke Ulysses is going to be the next senior to be honored today. The beginning of the semester, Luke had to miss a little bit of time, but since he's come back, he's been a pretty impactful player, and he's been great for the Beacons coming down the stretch here.
I don't know who has the bigger smile, if it's Stephen McGuire or Luke Ulysses. Both guys are normally lighting up the gym. But you talk about a leader as a point guard. His numbers aren't tops on the team, but he's the Beacons' top ball handler. You don't keep time of possession. You don't keep amount of time possessing the ball, but he's the guy the Beacons want to have the ball in his hands. And if you kept secondary assists in basketball, he would probably be close to the top on the Beacons. He's a great passer, a very good three-point shooter. Came in mid-season last year and made a big impact in a couple of close losses for the Beacons. They did finish 0-14 last year. Chance for UMass Boston to finish at 6-8, and he's a big reason why. As soon as he came back from his 6-game absence, he's been phenomenal, and now the final senior, really the heart and soul of this program over the past 4 years. He came in as one of 8 freshmen 4 years ago, the lone player who's still here, and it just shows his resilience through tough times and through some pretty good times. Carl Joseph has really shown the lone 1,000-point scorer in this group.
Yeah, and now he stands at 6th on the all-time list here for Beacons men's basketball with 1,210 points. Earned a couple of honors from the conference, and well-deserved. And it's just great to see all these seniors having the chance to be recognized here.
Yeah, I mean, Carl was a player who couldn't get onto the floor the first semester of his freshman year. Second semester, he was so good, he was named to the all-rookie team. That shows you some big improvement. He was able to change Charlie Titus's mind, and since then he's been a consistent player who's seen a ton of time, but an all-defensive team selection, all-conference first team a year ago, all-region according to D3Hoops.com. Should have some more accolades coming into him this year. The Beacons' top scorer, the Beacons' second leading rebounder. He's a great defensive player, always puts up a lot of steals and blocks, and now we're going to actually get the starting lineups for you as Western Connecticut State had to amuse themselves for a couple minutes. I don't think they expected a not only the senior day ceremony, but an engagement as well. As we'll check out the UMass Boston starters for you right now, and the players will introduce themselves, and shouldn't be too many surprises. It's a senior-laden starting lineup.
Ivan Cutts, senior, swingman, Boston, Mass.
Luke Ulysses, senior point guard from Brooklyn, New York.
Gregory Young, senior, small forward out of Dorchester.
Stephen McGuire, senior forward from Rancho Cucamonga, California.
Carl Joseph, senior forward, Brockton, Massachusetts.
All right, those 5 seniors getting the start here today. And now we're going to take a look at the keys to the game. And Seth, with so much going on today, we've talked about it. There's Coach Titus, there's Senior Day. We just had an engagement a few seconds ago. One of the things is going to remember that they still have a game here to play.
Yeah, and it's not going to be easy in those opening minutes, but trying to keep the focus on the actual game, it's one of those difficult things where you have so much emotion, and sometimes emotion and all that can be a great thing, and sometimes it causes sloppiness. So it's funneling that, channeling that emotion towards a positive, pounding the glass. I talked about it a little bit in the pregame. Western Connecticut State minus 4.9 rebounding margin. The Beacons at plus 3.2. You have to come away with a big margin there if you're going to come away with the win. And then don't let free throws determine the outcome. Free throws have been the Beacons' Achilles heel. UMass Boston shooting just 63.8%, almost a full 10% worse than the conference leaders, UMass Dartmouth. Western Connecticut State, they're not a great free throw shooting team, 65.8, but the Beacons have let free throws really cost them in a couple of games. They've shot close to 50% in a couple of conference contests. If UMass Boston wants to make this a special day for their seniors, for Charlie Titus, for everyone who's here, and this is easily the largest crowd all season long, they're going to have to hit their free throws, or at least enough of them to make sure that's not the final decider in today's game.
All right, and with that said, looks like we're ready to tip off as that ball will go out of bounds off the tip. So we'll jump up again.
Carl Joseph showing just how good he is in terms of his vertical leap. Joseph, an All-American high jumper for UMass Boston in the outdoor season.
So the Beacons will take control as we're ready to play basketball here this afternoon. First shot taken by Joseph, won't go. So now the Colonials, senior Jimmy Louisant playing the point. And Jeremiah Washington with the lay-in here. Give the Colonials the opening basket. Cuts with the floater. Rattles around the rim, but eventually goes. Nice penetration there by Cuts.
And Ivan was one of the last Beacons to score this season. Struggled with his shooting touch, but he's seen more and more times the second half of the season has gone on. The Beacons going with slightly smaller athletic lineups, and that's where he really excels.
So this ball comes inside to Britter, who will step out of bounds, turn the ball into the Beacons' hands.
And UMass Boston's not going to stay with these 5 seniors the whole way. Stephen McGuire only plays about 10 to 15 minutes a game. Ivan cuts 4 to 6. But Charlie Titus is going to keep this group out as long as they're playing well and as long as they avoid some foul trouble.
One of those seniors now, Luke Ulysses, tried to find Joseph, but he turns it over. Coming down the other way is Perry, who will get the lay-in to go.
Yeah, and that's a strong move from Perry. He had a player on the backside making a nice cut. That was Jeremiah Washington, but able to fend off Joseph, who was looking for the big block from behind.
Ulysses now, defended by Starks. Inside to McGuire. McGuire with a nice move off the glass and in.
And you know that Stephen's really feeling it. That's a very nice move. Was able to go one-on-one on the block and a great finish with the right hand.
So this is Washington now driving the lane. He'll get knocked by Cuts. So that'll be our first foul of the game.
And Doug, we're 2:04 in, but you can tell this game's going to be a pretty wide open game. There's going to be a lot of one-on-one matchups, at least here to start. Everybody's looking for theirs, and this game has a little bit less stress and pressure because both teams are locked into their seating. So you can maybe try a few things. Both teams are going to try to gain some momentum heading into the playoffs, but this is a chance for the Beacons to go out with a win.
As Joseph with the lay-in there. Louisant looking inside for Perry. A little bit of miscommunication there. That goes out of bounds.
And it's interesting. I don't know if he's available today. I assume he would be. But Kendall Marquez, team's leading scorer, coming off the bench. So Western might be one of those teams who really fuels not just energy coming off the bench, but their offense might get better as this group is maybe a more balanced team in terms of offense and defense. Marquez coming off the bench to provide a little bit more help scoring-wise.
Inside, that ball is blocked by Starks, and the Colonials are able to come away with the rebound. Louisant going inside, finds Britter for the lay-in.
That's a great look by Louisant. He had the three-point shot, saw the opening down low, and that's a better percentage shot from the block.
Young for three, doesn't go. Starks with the rebound. Starks for three. Offensive rebound by Britter. Tries to go straight back up with it. Strong move there. Doesn't go, and the Beacons come away with it.
Yeah, I think Britter got away with a offensive foul there, and a nice move by Stephen McGuire on the finish the other way. But Western Connecticut State, they don't have a ton of size, but they're very athletic. They're getting up on those offensive rebounds. It's a pretty fun matchup as both of these teams pretty similar in terms of their personnel and what they look to do.
Three ball here from Washington. Doesn't go. Miller looking to push the other way. Joseph drives, gets the bucket and the foul.
All starts with the pass from Stephen McGuire, immediately getting it out to Carl Joseph. It's a 2-on-2. Joseph felt confident enough there that he would be able to take Trayvon Perry off the dribble, and that's a strong finish. And Beacons, after seeing their 4-point lead disappear, back up to a 4-point lead, chance to make it a game-high 5 here in the early going.
Joseph does just that, knocking down his free throw.
And now the Beacons will send Omar Benavicha and Salim Omarovich, the pride of Saugus there, two former Saugus High School players. And those two guys are the normal starters. We'll probably see Cuts and McGuire head to the bench, but good minutes from those two in the opening 5.
Yeah, definitely a solid performance by those two. Obviously riding on the emotion of the senior day event as Cuts tries the lay-in, can't get it to go.
And that's one of those very athletic plays from Ivan. It's just trying to get it to completely finish. It was a great job to not be called for the travel. And now 3 substitutions for Western coming off the bench. It's like Philquan Tate out there alongside, I believe that's Kendall Marquez. A little difficult to read some of the numbers on these Western players.
It is indeed Marquez. As Selden just into the game. Can't get his lay-in to go. Driving the lane is Ulysses. He'll get contacted and go to the line to shoot 2.
And it'll be either Russell Payton or Tony Selden. Both players were in on the play, but both players unable to slow down Ulysses, who's so good at driving and then either looking for his own shot or kicking it out to a three-point shooter.
Apparently the foul was on the floor before that lay-in attempt. So the Beacons inbound from the baseline. Joseph inside, tries the layup attempt, doesn't go. Tate with the rebound. This is Cassius. Looking inside for Payton, deflected out of bounds by Joseph, so the Colonials will inbound from the baseline.
Yeah, and we're 5 minutes in, and Western Connecticut State has been held to 3 baskets. That's a great defensive start, and that's a bad turnover.
And coming the other way is Young for the throwdown.
Yeah, great outlet pass from Joseph. One bounce, easy pickup for Young, and then Gregory Young showing those ups, a big dunk, and that'll force a timeout. And we talked about the Beacons head coach, Charlie Titus. Bob Campbell, he's been there for 31 years. These two guys, there's definitely a little bit of a rivalry. There's a great relationship there. So head to a timeout, but you know that relationship, it's special for Campbell to share this with Titus today.
Absolutely. And you got to know that there's mutual respect on both sides. As you can see up on the screen, Charlie Titus with that original UMass Boston team, back when it was a club team. He was influential in getting this varsity program started. And not to be ignored, he was also influential in getting this league started.
Yeah, Charlie was with the league from the start, 1986. And talk about the club team, it was the first intercollegiate program here at UMass Boston. It was a fledgling program back in the 70s. Became a varsity program in the early 80s, and they had a ton of success in the early 80s. Ken Hall, the program's leading scorer, who, not to give anything away, but we'll see a graphic of him later. He was a player in the 80s. You talk about some of the great all-time players. John Boo Rice, a point guard on that team. So a lot of success in the 80s. Hasn't had as much success as he would like, but he's been here from the start. 40 years, it's an incredible number to myself as such a young broadcaster to even contemplate 40 years when I haven't been on this earth for 40 years.
Back to live action now. This is Marquez with the long 3. Can't get it to go.
And that's an awkward little shot there from Marquez. I don't know if he's still adjusting and maybe he's just a little cold coming off the bench. It was a long time since warm-ups with that senior day ceremony, the engagement. The starters, as he's going to head to the bench. That's a quick pull on Marquez, maybe a minute and a half in there, but not a good sign for Western Connecticut State for their leading scorer.
Coming back the other way, Young looking for Omerovich. Turns it over. Coming away with it is Selden. Back up top to Payton. Payton finds Douglas, who will turn it over. Coming the other way, Young looking for Benavica. Overthrew him a little bit, and the Colonials will take over.
Yeah, and that's just a sign of what the Beacons are going to look to do. They're going to really look to push. Referees missed a kickball there. It hit off the ankle of Omar Benavica. Should have been called, so the ball doesn't lie in that case, and the Beacons unable to score off of a missed call from the referees. Into the game for Western, it looks like it's Ryan Belote in for the first time.
Jump ball called here. Stays with the Beacons. They'll inbound from the baseline, leading the Colonials 13-6. Just about 6.5 minutes here into the game.
That pass right in and out of the hands of Gregory Young. I think he would have had it if he had expected it. That was just such a strange place to put the inbounds pass.
And there's a turnover now. Young, he's going to give it up. Dunk attempt doesn't go for Ulysses. And Colonials come back the other way. Cassius with the lay-in.
Unselfish play by Gregory Young. Ulysses, normally so reliable from that distance, but unable to finish, just a little bit too strong in his layup attempt.
Young now. Finds Joseph, who will take the long two. Doesn't go. And the Colonials will start the attack. Pushing the ball up court. Quick three by Selden. Joseph with the rebound.
Yeah, Western now just 3 of 11 from the field. Definitely struggling for a team that normally shoots it close to 50%.
This is Omerovich. Gets that one to roll in. Gives the Beacons the 7-point lead.
And that's huge. Omerovich sensing that he has a decent size, maybe not an advantage, but at least he's even with some of the Western players, and a nice move to back down his defender.
Below with the long three. Can't get that to go. Joseph spinning inside. Gets that floater to go.
Joseph up to 7 points here in the early going, almost outscoring Western over the first 9 minutes of play.
As almost turned over again by the Colonials, but Peyton able to gather in. We'll get a foul called here.
I believe it's going to be on Joseph. He caught a little bit of the shirt. Oh, no, they're going to call it on Omar Benabicha.
So Agner and Fred Epps checking in for the Beacons. And back into the game for the Colonials, Jimmy Louisant. Louisant inbounds, gives it to Selden, whose two won't go. Gregory Young with the rebound. Epps coming the other way. They find Benavica in the corner.
And this is a nice lineup. You don't have a big-time scorer outside of Gregory Young, but Carl Agnor looks for his own shots. Fred Epps is certainly capable. 15 against Southern Maine on Tuesday nights. He'll take it all the way to the hoop. Can't finish.
This is a good look there by Epps, though. Good aggressive play. As we'll get another foul call here at the Beacons end.
Yeah, it looked like Agnor just rode on the hip of Louisant a little bit too long, and his first, team's third, so the Beacons not in too much foul trouble here.
Louisant running the point for the Colonials. Going inside. The dunk attempt there by Tate. Looked like he lost it going up. And the Beacons will come away with it.
Yeah, it looked like the NBA dunk competition from last weekend in New York. A lot of dunk attempts, not so many fantastic dunks, although I don't mean to insult Zach Levine, who was phenomenal.
This is Young now for three. A little bit long, but good rebound there by Epps.
What a play by Fred Epps, the freshman out of Randolph, to rip the rebound away.
This is Benavica for three.
And that play is made by Epps going into the paint amongst 3 players. And the 5'7" point guard not only grabbed the rebound, a couple of Western players were trying to tie him up. He kept it and kept the possession alive.
So Tate now turns it over. Coming the other way is Epps. Epps is going to give it up. Agnor with a nice lay in there. Another fast break basket for the Beacons. That one started by Epps on the turnover, and unselfishly gives it up to Agnor trailing.
And you knew it the whole way. That's a point guard who knows that the big man's going to run. You got to feed him. There were actually 3 Beacons on that fast break opportunity. The funny part about that is Coach Titus, he hates the focus on dunks and 3-point shots. He wants to see nice ball movement. That's a throwback. The nice little finger roll, putting it in instead of putting it in with the big dunk. A more high percentage shot because might not hit the back of the rim, anything like that. And that's just a phenomenal finish from Agnor. Some very unselfish play from UMass Boston. The difference thus far, at least in my opinion, Doug, has been the Beacons' ability to get out in transition. UMass Boston on every rebound looking to push. They've done a nice job forcing the turnovers. We look at the stats. Already 6 turnovers for Weston compared to just 3 for UMass Boston.
Yeah, the Beacons are definitely ready to run once they get that rebound. It helps that there have been so many rebound opportunities. The Colonials just 4 for 15 early on from the field as they'll turn that ball over. That was Washington. Felt he got tripped up. as Joseph will come back into the game.
And for the first time today, we're seeing Western go into some full court pressure, trying to force some turnovers of their own. And this actually could speed the Beacons up, which might not be the greatest thing for Western, but they're trying something after their slow start.
Benavicia lost the ball going to the basket. It was because of a foul.
It's an interesting call. It was very late. Going to call it on Louis San. That's a strong move from Benavicia. We talked about the Beacons' ability to get out into transition. Western shooting 26%. They've scored 8 points in 10 minutes and 7 seconds. This team averages 81 for the game. Now, I'm not saying they're going to finish with 32, but great defensive intensity as well from UMass Boston, and sometimes that gets overlooked.
Benavicia knocks down the first. Beacons now lead 23-8. Make that 24-8 as Benavicia knocks down both. Excuse me.
And Omar's the guy who the Beacons started the season without. Nice three from Jimmy Louisant. And ever since he's come back, he's gained his fitness, he's gained his confidence, and he's been a big player for UMass Boston, especially during that Ulysses absence earlier in January.
As that was a big block there by Trevon Perry. As it looks like McGuire is ready to check back in.
And it'll be, this is interesting, the referees are still discussing something that happened on that last possession. Not quite sure which. A Western player tried to save it along the baseline. They ruled it was out of bounds on the play. And now I believe Omerovich is going to be the player checking out. Is now there. It's got to be the shot clock. Shot clock was reset there. It never hit the shot clock. The discussion is whether Western retained possession or whether Western ever gained possession. And I believe they're going to take off some seconds off the shot clock as Western player was out of bounds when he touched the ball. And, yep, 23 now on the shot clock. So that query is over, and Omerovich is out with McGuire replacing him.
Now that we've gotten that straightened out, we're ready to play basketball once again. 9:30 left here in the first half. Agner to inbound, finds Epps. Epps dishes it off to Benavicia. Benavicia with the two, excuse me. And a little bit of an unnecessary foul there by Fred Epps, as just swatting at Jeremiah Washington, who had the rebound. Oh, not a foul, it just went out of bounds. My bad. This is Starks now. Gives it over to Britter. Britter's shot doesn't go. Agner with the rebound.
And that's a good look. Britter definitely has the range there, the senior out of Stanford. But at the same point, Britter's your team's best rebounder. So if he's going to take that shot, you need to have one or two guys trying to hit the glass. Otherwise, you're giving up possession on a missed shot.
No shot there as this foul will be called on the floor. It's going to be on number 11, Jeremiah Washington. That's his first. Checking back into the game for the Beacons is Luke Ulysses. He'll replace Fred Epps as McGuire will inbound from the baseline. Finds Agnor. Spinning on the block. And he traveled with it, so Colonials will take over.
Yeah, it was a strong move. The double team came a little bit. He slipped on the pivot foot. It's a good look, though, on the out of bounds. And UMass Boston, we talked about the advantage they should have rebounding. They have the advantage on the block. If they can get it to their big guys and isolate, they should be able to get some easy points in the paint.
As Perry gets that shot to go, makes it an 11-point game. Ulysses pushing the ball hard up court. He'll give it up to Agner. Agner looked like he wanted to give it back to Ulysses. Instead, threw it into the body of the Colonials as McGuire comes away with a steal at the other end. Back to McGuire. McGuire with the finger roll lay-in from Ulysses.
And that's just a phenomenal play. McGuire read it the whole way as now UMass Boston doesn't get back in transition to ignore the block, but a second try from Washington falls. McGuire looked like a cornerback there reading it. It's hard to discuss one play before 3 more happen.
Now block on the other end as Perry knocks away that shot, and at the other end the Colonials get a 3 ball from Starks, whose shot doesn't go. That shot won't go for Luisan either.
Yeah, Starks really rushed that shot. It wasn't a good shot in the course of their offense. And Western, I'm sure they're going to have some words at halftime if they don't start getting a little bit more going on offense. They're rushing some shots. They're taking some deep threes. Haven't been able to get into the paint against a Beacons team that doesn't have a legitimate big man that you should worry about as a rim protector.
Into the corner for Benavicia. Steps in. His 2 won't go. Luisant coming away with it. Luisant looked like he wanted to take a 3. Instead, he'll send it back inside to Britter. Britter finds Perry cutting. He'll get the bucket and the foul.
And that's a great play. We talked about the need to get inside for Western Connecticut State. There they did it. Couple of nifty passes, drew the double team as we see Marquez check in alongside Tony Selden. And that's going to be open for Western all day long. UMass Boston, they don't have that hulk of a 7-footer like some of the other teams in this conference do. Eastern and Keene come to mind. And right now the Beacons have bogged down a little bit. As the Beacons lead, I believe, was 14 and now, or maybe 16 at 24-8. It's been cut to 9 at 26-17.
Chance to cut it back down to 8 now as Perry knocks down that free throw. Coming back the other way, Ulysses finds McGuire. Ulysses goes inside to Gregory Young, but he's going to be called for the offensive foul. His first, team 5th. So a turnover there. And the Colonials with the chance to get this game back down to 2 possessions. And it will be Perry with the attempt. Offensive rebound by Britter. Britter goes back up with it, gets his own rebound again. Britter is going to kick it back out. They're going to get the ball in the hands of Marquez. Marquez is going to give it back to Perry. Perry for 3. Doesn't go. Another offensive rebound. That one doesn't go. Still with the Colonials have the ball.
Beacons are playing hot potato. The ball's going in and out of the hands. Unable to get an offensive rebound or defensive rebound here. And that's going to go against McGuire. It looks like McGuire was pushed in the air. No, they're going to call it the right way. Yeah, it looked like the 2 referees were discussing. McGuire had position, but that's just an unacceptable situation. Is now looking over the Western side, over that far corner. It looks like Jeremiah Washington, one of the team's starters, is dealing with a right hand injury. He's definitely wincing in some pain holding on to that, so that's something to watch. But Doug talked about the emotions. I think the Beacons handled them really well. They channeled them. They were able to get off to that hot start. Now it's, as the lull comes on, you've realized it's just a basketball game again, trying to keep that momentum going as Western's gotten back into this game.
Right, we were talking about keeping your emotions in check. It could also be a case where you kind of ride those emotions early on, and then as that rush starts to drop off, so does your play, as Young can't get that basket to go. Starks gives the ball up to Marquez. Marquez goes down to Selden. Selden inside to Cassius. Cassius spins off the block. Can't get that to go. Joseph comes away with the rebound.
Well, as a lover of the hook shot, I like that move from Cassius. Not a bad shot.
As Joseph gets that 3 to go.
And Carl has probably been thinking about this day for 4 years, about making this a special day. He's got 10 points to lead all players, and he's been very good thus far for UMass Boston. A couple rebounds, a couple assists.
3 ball from Marquez. Can't get that one to go. Marquez, as we mentioned, didn't start today's game, and he hasn't been able to get anything going since he's come in.
Unbelievable passing there. It looks like everyone was trying to be unselfish. Joseph not able to knock it down, but some great passing there. McGuire passed up a shot, as did Gregory Young, and Joseph got it back, couldn't hit back-to-back threes.
Starks now. He'll give it up to Selden. Selden finds a path in the lane, but that is blocked by McGuire. And it'll be blocked out of bounds. And the Colonials will take over. Louis-Sant back into the game, as is Phil Quan Tate. Benavica back into the game for the Beacons.
And Doug, we haven't mentioned this yet. Phil Starks is sporting some pretty dapper shoes there. His sneakers, some bright neon yellow and a little bit of neon orange as well. It's impossible to miss Phil Starks out on the floor. The shot clock violation, and that's another instance. Western's offense towards the top, not just of the Little East, but in New England overall, over 80 points per game, and they just haven't been able to get anything going. That long delay between warm-ups certainly didn't help, and then having to sit on a bus as their bus was broken down. It led to the late start for today's game.
Exactly. As we're going to get a foul called here.
Yeah, McGuire couldn't hit the three, but he drew the foul. That's Stephen McGuire's patented rainbow three, and he'll head to the line for three, one of the better free throw shooters for UMass Boston. That's a bad foul there on the Western player. It's going to be charged to Claudie Cassius, his second, and that's the 7th. So from now on, the Beacons will be shooting free throws.
McGuire will make his first of 3. McGuire now with 7 points on the afternoon, trails only Carl Joseph on the Beacons.
And he may have hit double digits in 2, maybe 3 games over his time at UMass Boston. So this is a pretty special performance from Steve McGuire. If you're not used to watching Beacons games, he's been very good. And he's definitely one of those players, not only senior day, he's engaged now. It's been a great day for Steven, no matter the outcome of this game. But he's got 9, and he's doing everything he can to lead the Beacons to a victory.
3 for 3 from the line, 3 for 3 from the field for the senior.
That's a good press break by Western, but unable to finish, and it's another empty possession for the Colonials.
Benavica gets into the lane, partially blocked. Benavica gets it back, but can't get the shot to go. Coming the other way is Jimmy Louis-Sant. Louis-Sant inside to Britter, who lays it in.
Yeah, no surprise that Jimmy Louis-Sant leads this team in assists with 63 coming in. He's a great point guard, really looking to help his teammates find good looks.
As Young gets blocked by Britter. Britter's been a pretty solid player on both ends for the Colonials this afternoon. And it looks like the Colonials are trying to get inside now after shooting just 1 for 9 from beyond the arc.
That's the 10th block of today's game, 6 for Western. You don't see 10 blocks in a game too often, and we still have 3:20 to go here in the first half as UMass Boston's led the entire way. A great start for the Beacons, and now we will check out another Charlie Titus graphic, the man of the day, and there's one. See Charlie on the left, you can't miss him. Next to Carl Joseph, Doc Rivers, the former coach of the Boston Celtics. Tyler Papadinas, the longtime assistant coach at UMass Boston. This year, he's the associate head coach. And then former players Mike Mitchell, a senior captain, and Vinny DeLucia, a former Little East Conference Rookie of the Year, who was supposed to be one of those seniors here. Didn't end up finishing his career, but a great guy, Vinny. And he talked to Charlie, and one of the things that was cut out of the expose about Charlie was what he was proud about of his team's off-the-court accomplishments. And this team has done so much community service work over the past 40 years. They consistently go every year to Boston Children's Hospital and hand out gifts. They hold clinics over on Cape Cod. They do a lot to represent the university, and that's what Charlie Titus has always preached. It's not just about what you do on the court, it's about what you do in the community to give back. And this men's basketball team has been towards the forefront of UMass Boston's ability to give back to the community.
Absolutely. And it's great to see. It's always good to see the athletes getting out into the community, as the community appreciates it as well. And it really helps raise not just the athletic program, but the university as a whole.
Yeah, and with UMass Boston being right in the city of Boston, you can't be any more right in the city. It's even more important. There's so many youths who use these facilities over the summer for summer camps and come in for clinics. It's a great chance to give them an idea of where they can end up. So Beacons with the turnover out of the break, but a good start nonetheless, leading by 12.
And just looking at the roster, you could see the effect that these community outreach programs have on the program. As you see a lot of Massachusetts on the UMass roster. So those kids growing up in the area, they see this program, and they can eventually end up here. Benavicia now. We're back to live action. The Beacons lead by 12. Again today, honoring both the seniors and head coach Charlie Titus, as that shot won't go. Colonials pushing the other way. That pass from Jimmy Louisant just eludes Philquan Tate, as the Colonials are looking to push the issue there.
Turnover number 10 for Western, as Agnor will check in from McGuire. Leo Medina is in there for Ulysses, the first time we've seen the junior point guard out of Brockton. The Beacons will turn it right back. Oh no, Benavicia able to save it.
Good save there by Benavicia. Ball ends up in Agner's hands. He'll get fouled.
I don't know how Omar Benavicia was able to track that down right in front of the Western bench, but I had given up on that play, and that just shows Beacons maybe a step quicker, or maybe just a little bit of ball luck, as both teams have struggled coming out of this timeout. But see Medina, and he's been a player who's ridden some highs and lows this year. Starting point guard on opening day. Benavicia came back. He's had to find his minutes, but he's been a big impact player for the Beacons, especially one of their better free throw shooters. Hit some clutch ones in their upset win over UMass Dartmouth, who the Beacons actually could be facing off against in the Little East Conference quarters. The good news is it's Keene, it's Dartmouth. Either way, the Beacons beat those teams in their last meeting, so the Beacons should have a little bit of confidence going into quarterfinal play.
Right, the Beacons locked into that 6th seed, but the parity in this league, anybody can beat anybody.
It starts with the top. Eastern Connecticut State has been so good this season. The Warriors under head coach Bill Geithner has been phenomenal. 12-1, but who did their one loss come to? The second and worst team in the league, Plymouth State, who has just 2 conference wins. So at the second and worst, or even the worst, depending on what happens today, and we'll have the Little East Conference scoreboard for you at halftime. Plymouth trying to lock into the 7 seed. If the worst team can beat the best team, then you know anything else can happen. And there's not a truly tremendous team in the conference this season. There's some very good ones, but there's not one dominant team, which means anybody could win it, maybe 1 through 5, 1 through 6. Beacons are hoping 1 through 6 in next week's tournament that'll be played Tuesday, Friday, Saturday.
They'll turn that one over, but Britter is going to get called for the offensive foul on the other, as he tried to drive the lane.
And that's a good call by the referees, not what I expected to see. Agnor is so good at giving up the body and taking charges, and that time he drew just enough contact as Leo Medina is going to be called for the travel.
So after the Beacons work hard to get the ball back, they turn it right back over. They lead by 13 as Luke Ulysses checks back into the game, replacing Leo Medina. So this is Starks now. It's Louisant. He gives it up to Starks, who turns it over. Gregory Young coming the other way. He's got Ulysses running. Tries to get it to him with the bounce pass, but it was disrupted by Britter.
That was the right play, a tremendous play by Britter, but Gregory Young is showing some great hands today. That wasn't turning it over. That was just a straight up theft by Gregory Young to get the Beacons the ball back.
So the Beacons will try to make something of that possession now, as the ball ends up in the hands of Agnor. Comes inside to Joseph. Back to Agnor. Spins in the lane. His shot won't go. And Louisant comes away with the rebound, pushing it up the other end to Starks. Starks with the 3, doesn't go. Joseph with the rebound.
Doug, these are pretty important 90 seconds for both teams. The Beacons leading by 13, led by as many as 16. UMass Boston can push this out to 15. They'll feel really good. Western can cut it to under 10. It would be huge.
Lay in there by Benavicha. Gets it up to 15.
You know Western can score points in bunches, averaging 81, but if they can't get their offense going here, 15 points might be enough to hold off a Colonials run in the second half.
So this is Starks. Inside to Britter. Britter's shot doesn't go. Ulysses with the rebound on the other end. Pushing it. Cheeky bounce pass there to Joseph, but that's blocked by Britter.
I don't know how Britter didn't have the team lead in blocks this season. He's been phenomenal.
As that one rolls in for Starks.
And UMass Boston needs to play for the last shot right now, up by 13. There's a 1 second difference between shot clock and game clock.
They won't do that as they toss the alley-oop. Looking for Joseph. He missed that shot, but gets his own rebound and lays it in. And a carry called here.
Wow, Louis Song coming across half court, was looking up, looking to see where he could find as he'll head to the bench. And checking back in for Western is Russell Payton, but now, talked about it, Beacons with that 15-point lead. Now they really will be playing for the last shot. As they'll do one more offense for defense substitution. Phil Clontate back in there for Western for the final 18.3.
So this is Joseph to inbound. He'll find Ulysses. Ulysses, he'll bring it back out as they wait for the final shot in the final 10 seconds. Ulysses takes it into the lane. Ball eventually finds Agnor, who will lay it in. The long attempt goes for Marquez. The half-court desperation shot.
And I'm stunned. I'm absolutely stunned. Kendall Marquez is missed badly on a couple of threes, and all he needed was an acrobatic just inside half-court three. Off balance, puts it home, and that the Beacons coaches, they're a little bit stunned as well, and that puts a damper on what has been a phenomenal first half for the Beacons. Agnor was calling for the ball the whole way on that last possession for UMass Boston. Great feed from Luke Ulysses, but maybe that's what Western Connecticut State need. Cuts it back to 14. Marquez, his first points of the day. He had been 0 for 3. Remember, the leading scorer for Western Connecticut State. Airballed his first attempt and banks it home from just inside half court. That was a tremendous play from the sophomore out of Willimantic, Connecticut. Overall, though, a very good first half for UMass Boston.
Very solid first half. Very well on the defensive end, keeping the Colonials to just under 30% shooting from the field. The Beacons go into the break up 14 with a 40-26 lead here on Senior Day. We're going to take a quick break and we'll bring you our halftime report. You're tuning in to the Beacon Broadcast Network.
Yep, we'll head to a look of Charlie Titus with it behind the Beacon as Charlie talks about his 40 years behind the bench.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Beacon. I'm your host, Haley Dutton. This week, we have a special episode as we honor the first and only UMass Boston men's basketball head coach, Charlie Titus. With Coach Titus's last game scheduled for this Saturday, we spoke to the 40th-year head coach about his time behind the bench.
We had a vision 40 years ago, and I sold that vision to some of the players that we recruited over and over again. So we had hopes, we had dreams, we had aspirations. Along the road, we were sort of trying to make sure that we were fulfilling those dreams and aspirations, that we were doing everything we could to give our basketball team an opportunity to grow and to develop and to become, a premier team in the sports world, particularly in New England and hopefully around the country. And it was the role model in the leadership position for the rest of the sports here at the university. It was the first intercollegiate sport that we had. So, being a part of that has been amazing, and it's not a daily thought, but when you look back and you say, gee, this is where we were in 1974, gee, this is where we were in 1982, or gee, this is what happened in 1992, it's sort of like, wow, we've been doing okay. Anytime you win a conference championship, that's an accomplishment that you got to be proud of. Particularly in a conference like ours, it's so doggone competitive, and you don't get a free ride at any night. You got to go play every night. I think the 206 championship was a great accomplishment for us, and it was made even sweeter because my son was a part of that team, an important part of that team. A tournament in Miami, it had a couple of Division III teams and Division II teams in the tournament. And the first game, we were matched up against Georgia Southern, which was actually a small Division I team. They were big, 6'10", 6'9", 6'10", and I'm sorry, Georgia Southwest. We were supposed to get killed. The morning before we played that game, I was down in the hotel. It was a hotel on the beach, and I was down getting some breakfast. And all of a sudden, I heard this chant, and I looked out, and it was our whole team running up the beach, chanting. And I'd never seen them do anything like that before. And they ran right by me, and I looked at them, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? They said, we're getting ready to play, Coach. We went out and won that game. We won it. And the coach actually was so upset, he wouldn't even shake our hands. He put his kids in the van and just took them home. So that was a favorite moment. That was a good one. AJ is a guy who, listen, he grew up in this program. I remember being at practice with AJ in my arms as a baby. There are pictures around here of AJ in the huddle as a little 4 or 5-year-old with the team. So he knew UMass. He went to summer camp here for the summers, and this was home to him. It's rare that you get an opportunity to coach your son. There have been some father and son combinations, but not a whole lot of them. And when you have an opportunity to do that on a team that's a championship team, and to watch your son make the sacrifices that are necessary for his team to win. When we went to play the championship at Keene State, who had beaten us twice that year, and for AJ to step up and just sort of take over that game and to score big time. I mean, he hit critical buckets in that game and became the MVP of that game. Those are special moments that most people just don't get a chance to enjoy. There are a couple of things, and you look at the signs. One is, I never, ever, ever wanted to feel like I was an old coach, quotes. And I don't feel like that now, but I can see it coming. So, when you can see it coming, you're saying, the energy level is, I still have energy, but it's not the same. It's not the same energy level. There's never been a time that I can remember from the time I was, I guess, 8, 5, 6 years old, whenever I started playing back with the old Columbia Point Tigers, that I was not in a basketball season. I wasn't preparing for the season. I wasn't a part of a season. There was a vice chancellor here named Lee Tubbs who took a chance on a young 24-year-old guy who had no coaching experience. And then in 1980, he took a chance again on a young 30-year-old guy who had no administration experience and made him the athletic director. So I owe so much to Lee, and sort of his willing to take the gamble, his mentorship through those years, and his belief in me made a big, big difference in my life and my career. And of course, my wonderful wife, who's been with me through this whole journey, and she started with me before the journey started. So, it's hard to go through and not say thank you to those people and let them know how much they really meant to me as I went through this journey. Far too many of them for me to name, but they're there, they know who they are, and they need to know that I know and that I appreciate their being on the journey with me and making sure that the journey was a good one.
The Beacons will honor Coach Titus after Saturday's Senior Day games against Western Connecticut State University before heading on the road for the Little East Conference Tournament quarterfinals this Tuesday. Thanks for watching. I'm Haley Dutton.
All right, welcome back here at the Clark Athletic Center Gymnasium for our halftime report. And first, Seth, let's take a look at some of the halftime stats.
Yeah, not too many surprises. Western actually out-rebounding UMass Boston. That might be the biggest surprise, but those 14 turnovers have killed the Colonials. They're also shooting just 29.7%. The Beacons cooled down a little bit, 15 to 38. Both teams have really struggled from behind the arc. But thus far, the biggest surprise, 8 for 8 free throw shooting from UMass Boston. We said it was the key to the game to not have free throws cost you the game. Well, right now they're helping the Beacons build this big advantage.
Yeah, they've been hugely efficient on, from the charity stripe. And that 2 for 11 number for Western Connecticut, who is number 2 in the league in three-point shooting. Also, it helps that one of their top three-point shooters hasn't seen a lot of minutes. Their leading scorer, Kendall Marquez, hasn't been in the game too much. And if you think about it, aside from that desperation three at the end, they were just 1 for 10 in the first half.
Yeah, and that desperation three, that's the thing that scares at least me if I'm the Beacons in the back of my head. What if Marquez starts to get hot in the second half? But yeah, I mean, a terrible percentage, 1 of 10. Normally shooting close to 40% at 37.4 as we check out the team leaders right now. And UMass Boston, Carl Joseph, he hasn't done it in the most economical way, but he's been the leader for UMass Boston in points and rebounds.
Yeah, Carl Joseph, they're not always pretty, but he gets them to go eventually. He's also been helping out, grabbing 7 rebounds, while Luke Ulysses has been dishing out the assists. On the other end, Britter has been one of the best players for Western Connecticut. You see his 8 rebounds there. He's also been influential defensively, coming up with a few blocks.
Yeah, he has 2. Trayvon Perry has 3. 11 total blocks, 7 of them for Western Connecticut State. The Beacons, the focus coming in was clearly to get to the hoop. The Beacons have done that. Western Connecticut State has done a nice job protecting the rim a little bit. As we'll check out the men's hockey game highlights from last week's win. Oh, rather our ECAC's quarterfinal preview right. No, we're gonna stay here on the Beacons Broadcast Network. Looking at the time. Sorry about that, folks.
Yep.
Just trying to figure out the final 4:30 before the second half. We're gonna get to the Little East Conference scoreboard in just a second. Right now, we'll look ahead. Oh, no, we've got the Little East Conference scoreboard. Jose Pena with those quick fingers directing today alongside Carl Poss, as we'll check out the Little East Conference scoreboard. And a couple of games now. The men's is a little bit easier than the women's. The men's had the top 2 seeds locked up, and then 5 and 6. There was a little less intrigue. Rhode Island College defeating Plymouth State 69-41. So Rhode Island College already the 2 seed. They end up at 10 and 4. Keene State trailing UMass Dartmouth. If UMass Dartmouth holds on, they'll be the 3. Keene State will be the 4. Western will be the 5. UMass Boston will be the 6th. And Eastern over Southern Maine 67-53. So Eastern, the top seed in the conference, and I believe, if I remember right, and I do, Plymouth State will finish as the 7. Southern Maine the 8, because Plymouth State had the win against the number 1 team in the conference. So right now the only seeds that are still left out there, the 3 versus the 4, UMass Dartmouth with a late lead over Keene State. Of course, this game starting an hour late because of Western Connecticut State's bus being delayed, so we know even more than we probably would have. We'll check out our looking ahead right now.
Looking ahead, on Tuesday, they'll have the Little East quarterfinals. Earlier today, the women Beacons claimed the number 3 seed, and they'll play those Western Connecticut Colonials in that matchup. The men's game will also be on Tuesday. We'll see where the Beacons will be traveling after the seating gets sorted out today.
Take a look around Beaconville as that bottom note was incorrect. The Beacons will be the 6th seed. Already 2 finals today. The women's hockey team gave up a goal with 7.7 seconds remaining in regulation. Fell 4-3, a minute and 35 left in the game, and there was a hat trick capped off for the Nor'easters. The women's basketball team with that victory today over Western Connecticut State. The Beacons' highest ever finish in the Little East Conference with the 3rd seed. UMass Boston could be a contender for their first ever title. And then the men's hockey team, only playoff game of the day. They'll host Skidmore College at 7. So we're going to take a commercial break, and then we'll be back with the second half as the Beacons lead by 14 here at halftime.
The University of Massachusetts Boston, with its scenic oceanfront campus, easily accessible to downtown Boston, is recognized as a model of excellence for urban public universities. 16 NCAA Division III sports are part of the more than 100 student organizations that create an engaging campus life in America's biggest and best college town. UMass Boston, Boston's urban public research university for the 21st century.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
UMass Boston was my first choice because when I came to the campus, I saw that there was a lot of diversity, there's a lot of people. Here there is a lot of international students, so it's really cool to meet people from different countries, different parts of the world. I'm Julia Murphy, I'm from Canton, Massachusetts.
I'm Olivia Murphy, I'm from Canton, Massachusetts.
We're sisters.
We're sisters.
I play volleyball and she plays basketball. Here they have a freshman success community. So each major has their own community that you can join as a freshman, and you take classes with them, you do study groups with them. So it was really helpful getting to know people in your major right away.
So in health exercise sciences, we have an internship at the end, so it's so much better to have like an advisor helping you out, like telling you which classes to choose.
Division III allows you to give yourself to other things.
All right, welcome back to the Clark Athletic Center gym as we are set for the second half of Game 2 of today's basketball doubleheader and senior day event. Also throughout today's broadcast, we will be honoring longtime head coach Charlie Titus as he's coaching his final regular season game on the Beacons bench. Just recapping where we are at this moment. Beacons lead by 14 and have held the Colonials under 30% shooting as we're underway here in the second half. And right off the bat, Ulysses will get fouled. This one's going to go against number 1, Jimmy Louisant, his second.
And Doug, Western struggled a little bit offensively their past 3 games. Today, just 26 points in the first half. They were held to 67 in a road loss at Keene, 60 in their senior day home loss at versus Eastern the other night, as Ivan Kutz nearly comes down with the rebound. You're going to say Carl Joseph was out of bounds if he tried to pick it up. This offense needs to get going if Western's going to come away with a victory over what looks like Keene State. That's going to be a tough matchup. They lost that last one by 18 last Saturday. They're going to have to come back about 10 days later and find a way to make up an 18-point advantage.
As the Beacons come away with the turnover there.
Yeah, it was Gregory Young with the block, and then Ivan Kutz gets stripped from behind, but there's a reach in, and I believe it's going to go on Trayvon Perry on the reaching from behind. That's his 3rd foul already. Still tons of basketball to be played.
So Joseph to inbound. Gets it to Kutz. Kutz inside. Rattle around on the rim, but doesn't fall. This is Starks giving it back up to Selden, who finds Britter. His shot doesn't go. Joseph with the rebound.
And I love Britter's shot. He has a really graceful looking stroke, but whenever he steps out to take those jump shots, if you don't have someone else down low, the Beacons have 3 players there for the rebound.
Turnaround jumper there for McGuire. He's now 4 for 4 from the field, if I remember correctly. He is. 3 on the other end by Louis Sant. Doesn't get it to fall.
4 for 4 from the field, 3 for 3 from the free throw line. Is anybody having a better day than Stephen McGuire? He's already engaged. If he wins the lottery tonight, he literally will be the magic man.
Oh, he's going to miss that tip in there. Tough way to get a first missed field goal, if that's what is officially given. Louis Sant now gives it up to Starks, who steps in and nails a 2.
And that's what Western Connecticut State needs to do. They need to shot fake. The Beacons have been really aggressive in going after the blocks.
Long pass up the court, ends up in the hands of Young, who lays it in.
Yeah, that's a great job. Joseph threw it well ahead of Cuts. He ran down the ball, and then great court vision to find Gregory Young wide open.
Back at the other end, Selden's shot doesn't go, and it'll end up out of bounds and into the Beacons' possession. Checking into the game for the Colonials, replacing Louis Britter, is Claudia Cassius.
And this is a dangerous spot for Western. They came into the second half trailing by 14. The Beacons have stretched the lead out to 16, as that's almost a very bad turnover by Ulysses. Ball still loose, and Western will come away with it. Western
is going to get called for a charge here, as Selden just ran over Cuts there.
And that's a charge. Almost was a poster. Ivan Cuts very happy that didn't go down. And that's really giving up the body, knowing that you're going to get pounded. But the Beacons led by as many 17 the first half. If UMass Boston's able to stretch this lead a little bit further, it could completely take Western out of this game. 15 minutes, maybe even more remaining.
Cuts adds that lead there with a nice little jumper. Back at the other end, this is Starks, who knocks down a 3. So Starks with an answer there, as Coach Titus is going to take looks like a 30-second timeout.
Yeah, it will be a 30-second. And Doug, they're going to call a full. While we've got a second, we talked about this big crowd. There's a ton of people here. There's some big-time dignitaries in the stands. Alfreda Harris is sitting right behind the Beacons bench. If you're really familiar with the history of UMass Boston, Alfreda Harris was the first women's coach in program history. She's one of the deans of basketball in the city of Boston, very influential in the middle school, the high school level. The Celtics PA announcer is here as well. Some of the biggest names in the city of Boston when it comes to the basketball community out and supporting. As we will check out another one of those Charlie Titus graphics right now and see him there with Ken Hall. Ken Hall, an incredible 1,945 points. If you watch the expose, that was one of the things that got cut. He talked about his relationship and how it was so easy to coach those early teams because he had so many tremendous players. And my favorite quote from Charlie was, he had 1,945 points and there was no three-point shot. So to think about an era where there's no three-point shot and you're still putting up almost close to 2,000 points, still the all-time leading scorer, 22 more points than Tony Barrows, who played on the 05-06 team that won the only Little East Conference in program history. It's a special relationship, and there's a lot of those guys back, a lot of former players who are here in attendance for today's game.
This is McGuire for 3. Can't get that one to go. Long rebound comes out into the hands of Cassius. Cassius lays it in. Looks like McGuire got a piece of that going up. Rebounded by Starks. Starks' shot won't go. Rebounded by Cuts.
Yeah, it was almost really bad luck for the Beacons. Ulysses tipped it out, and Clay had a big advantage, but McGuire comes back. I don't know if he blocked it, but he definitely altered the shot, and then Clay and Starks unable to finish. Western just hasn't been able to get into a rhythm.
3 ball from Louis Sant. That will go.
Back-to-back threes, and the Beacons' 16-point lead has been cut to 12, and another turnover off the inbounds.
Starting to get a little bit sloppy here coming out of this timeout. Louis Sant looked like he wanted to take another 3. Instead, he'll give it up. He'll get the ball back now and send it over to Starks. Starks gives it up to Selden, who's going to get fouled going to the basket.
Well, Doug, just when I said the Beacons could be threatening to run away with this one, well, Western threatening to come right back in it. An 8-0 run, potentially a 9-0 run with the N1. And now it's one of those times, can you get back that emotional high and start pushing it back and extend that lead, or are we going to have a tight finish here at the Clark Athletic Center?
Selden's free throw goes, and the lead is back down to single digits. Cross court finds Young. Young into the hands of Joseph. Joseph gave it up to Cutts, who sent it back into a cutting Joseph, who was fouled. Claudia Cassius is going to pick up that foul, his third. Joseph to the line. Shoot two. He'll make the first.
And it's interesting right now. Charlie Titus has kept this group out here, these 5 seniors, despite the fact they haven't played a lot of game minutes together. And Ivan Cutts hasn't seen as much action. Normally one of the last guys off the bench. Stephen McGuire doesn't normally see this much time. He's kept this group out. He's showing that he believes in them. When does he go off the bench and bring in some of the normal starters to go along with the Beacons' big 3 of Luke Ulysses, Gregory Young, and Carl Joseph?
As you mentioned that, one of the big players for the Colonials, Kendall Marquez, their leading scorer, has just checked back into the game.
Nice move to the basket, but foot was on the baseline there, and that takes away 2 points from Western.
So the Beacons with a 10-point lead now. Joseph finds Young. Young to the basket. Contacted, no foul called. Coming back the other way are the Colonials. Starks can't get his 3 to go. McGuire pulls away the rebound.
Yeah, that was a 3-on-1 for Western. A really aggressive move from Starks. Wanted the 3, but that's not a good 3-on-1 move. Attack the basket, use some pincer motion, and get an easy layup. It's a much higher percentage shot. And the Beacons on the other end taking advantage of the fast break, able to add to their lead.
Yeah, very nice move there by Luke Ulysses, as it looks like the Colonials are going to slow things down here a little bit as the ball gets into the hands of Marquez, but decides to give up the shot. No harm done as the Colonials are able to get the lay-in underneath. Young into the lane, kicks it out to Cutts with the 2. Come back the other way, Marquez looking long for Starks. That's disrupted by the Beacons.
Yeah, I can see why Ivan Cutts is described as the most athletic player on the roster. Just such a talented player, able to get up high like a cornerback there to knock it down. And the Beacons are getting just enough out of this group of seniors to keep them out there. Now we'll see Omerovich check in, but great performance by these 5 seniors, really doing a tremendous job. And it looks like we'll see Agnor check in as well for Joseph. So Ivan Cutts earning some extra PT. Has a pretty nice jump shot. I haven't seen him much this year, but a couple of baskets. And Ivan, I believe it's a season high for him with 4 points thus far. Actually, that's 6 points now on 3 of 6 shooting.
Yeah, Cutts has looked pretty good here today. Obviously, he's celebrating his senior day as well. And as you mentioned earlier, if you're playing, Coach Titus will give you your time.
Luke Ulysses can't believe that foul, as Marquez, easily the smallest player out on the court in both height and weight. Kendall is listed at 6'1", 165. He's given up a couple inches and about 20 pounds to Luke Ulysses. Went all the way to the hoop, minimal contact, but it was enough that time to draw the foul, and it'll be 2 free throws for the Colonials' leading scorer on the year.
He'll miss the first. Benavicia back into the game for the Beacons. Marquez will take his second free throw.
Remember, after today's contest, there will be a ceremony here at the Clark. Because of the delayed start, because of the Western Connecticut State bus breaking down, we won't have it for you live. It will be up on YouTube on Monday, as the Beacons will have Chancellor Keith Motley talk. They'll have Charlie Titus talk. There will be a couple of gifts given to the Beacons, not only men's basketball head coach, the only in program history, but also the Beacons vice chancellor, who will stay on in his vice chancellor duties. But this is his final game as head coach, 40th year head coach Charlie Titus.
Marquez with the long three. Rebounded there by Perry. Perry's shot won't go. And we're going to get a foul called here.
It's going to be Benavicia. This is the second or third possession I can remember in this game where it literally looks like the Beacons are allergic to pulling down a rebound. It's in and out of the hands of a couple guys. Western's working hard for it. Nothing to take away from them, but the Colonials not looking like a team that has struggled on the boards all season long as they continue to lead UMass Boston. The stats at this point, 34-28 in favor of Western.
Traveling violation there on number 33, Trevon Perry. So after working for that rebound, Colonials will turn it back over.
Yeah, and that's the stat that is going against the Colonials. 17 turnovers versus just 9 for the Beacons.
Agner hard to the basket, gets the lay-in.
Great vision from Omar Benavicia, one of 3 guys who consider themselves, 4 guys I should say, consider themselves point guards. Benavicia, Ulysses, Epps, and Medina. A couple of those guys will play together out on the court, giving the Beacons some really great hands. And UMass Boston's done a great job.
Louis Sant knocks down a 3.
That is a deep 3 from Jimmy Louis-Sant. And every time the Beacons look like they're going to stretch this, Western has kept themselves in it with a couple of big 3s and some big baskets down low as well.
Louis-Sant coming up with the steal on the other end, as he is now the team's leading scorer. Marquez gives it up. Tate had an open shot. Instead, they'll decide to reset and send it back out to Louis-Sant.
Tate had an open shot. He had an open lane to the basket, passed it up. I don't know what he was thinking.
As the Colonials will turn that one over, Benavicia coming down the other end. Hard to the basket, lay-in attempt, rebound, cuts.
And that's what you want out of Ivan Cuts. He ran, he didn't try to put it back up, didn't have full possession, an offensive rebound, another chance.
Crafty pass there by Young, finds Omerovich underneath, and he'll get fouled.
And it looks like it's going to be Phil Quantate. And Doug, I mentioned those point guards, and they're all very competent point guards, but the guy who leads the Beacons is Gregory Young. And it's because he's such a potent scorer, so teams have to come out at him. He's able to dribble by, create good opportunities, and this time Omerovich partially blocked, and he heads to the line for 2, misses the first one, but still a good high percentage shot from Salim Omerovich. And UMass Boston's been very unselfish today. That's the sign of a team that they like playing together. Nobody's looking to get their own per se.
Absolutely. As Omerovich knocks down his second. 1 for 2 for the line there for Omerovich. As there's contact there on Trevon Perry. Basket doesn't go, but he'll get 2 shots.
And that's a strong move on the other side. We saw a lot of one-on-one play in the first half. Haven't seen quite as much in the second half as Western will huddle up around their coaching staff. These are big moments here. 12:03 to go. It's a 13-point game. If Western's going to come back in this game, they don't necessarily need to cut it to 5 or to 4 in the next 5 or 6 minutes, but they need to play a little bit better team basketball, cut down on the sloppiness. They can score points in bunches, but remember, these two teams are both headed on the road. They're both heading to places that they lost at their only meeting there the first time. Is Western will likely head to Keene. UMass Boston will likely head to Dartmouth, pending the final score of that game between those two teams. Both of these teams need to use these last 12 minutes as a way to gain a little confidence, gain some momentum heading into Tuesday, more than the win or loss. It's not going to change the seeding. So the Beacons get the timeout. Gregory Young was in real trouble on the sideline. And we will take the timeout with the teams here at the Clark Athletic Center Gymnasium.
Having that free time allows me to pursue the things that I want to pursue.
Division III athletics affords students the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport.
It allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
We're here at the police station, for, giving back to the community, having fun at the Halloween haunted house.
We decorate all the cells, create a haunted house for the kids, and by 9 o'clock tonight, it's back to our actual prison cell again. We reached out to our community groups, the local colleges, UMass. They love to work with us. We have a great relationship with UMass, so it was incredible to have the kids and the students come in and help us scare the children.
All right, welcome back to the Clark Athletic Center. Beacons lead by 11. Doug Chin, Seth Orensky here with you on the Beacon Broadcast Network as Joseph shoots three. Agner with the rebound. Tangled up by Starks. Agner's able to come away with it. That shot won't go. And it'll end up out of bounds and into the hands of the Colonials. This will be Louis Sant to bring the ball up for the Colonials. Louis Sant looking to go inside to Britter, can't get it there. Western Connecticut locked in as the number 5 seed in the Little East tournament. Beacons locked in at number 6. As Joseph was contacted there, wanted a foul, didn't get the call. As Starks comes away with the steal. And now Agner is going to be called for a foul. And Coach Titus is not happy. Having a conversation with one of the referees right now. Colonials ready to inbound from just to the right of the scorer's table on the far end of the court. Louis Sant finds Marquez. Marquez, team's leading scorer, hasn't had the best of days. That shot won't go. Coming back the other way. Young finds Joseph. Hard foul called. And it's going to be a flagrant. Excuse me. So Carl Joseph will head to the line, shoot his technical free throws. He'll miss the first. Second attempt from Joseph, who leads all scorers with 13 points. Make that 14 as he knocks down that free throw. With the intentional foul, the Beacons will keep possession. Into Young. Young, hard to the lane. Gets the basket and the foul. This foul is going to be on number 0, I believe. Yep, Louis Britter. Britter's second. Young to the line to shoot 1. Young knocks that one down. And the lead is up to 14. Inside, Britter can't get it to go. Gets his own rebound. Back up. And he's fouled. So Britter to the line to shoot 2. That last foul was on Carl Joseph. His second. Team 6th. Britter makes his first. Britter knocks them both down, get his team back within 12. And we're going to get another timeout here, called by the Beacons.
It's going to be a Beacons full timeout. I don't know what Luke Ulysses is so upset about, but he is incensed. And we'll take a break along with the teams. It's the Beacons able to stretch that lead back out a little bit after it became tenuous just about a minute ago in game time.
Halloween is just such a great time of year, and it's great to see all the kids having fun and helping them out.
I'd definitely be back for next year.
Division III allows you to give yourself to other things.
Having that free time allows me to pursue the things that I want to pursue.
Division III athletics affords students the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport.
It allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
All right, welcome back to the Clark Athletic Center. Today, as we honor Coach Charlie Titus, as you see the graphic up on the screen, he was a Hall of Fame inductee into the Lilies Conference. We mentioned how influential he was in just getting the conference started, one of the founding members.
Yeah, Charlie was a member of the first inducted class back in 2013, a newer venture for the Little East Conference, founded in 1986, and Charlie and UMass Boston were a big part of it. You look at a conference that's made up of 8 public schools around New England. Boston is a nice center point, not just because of the demographic, but because you've got schools up in Maine, New Hampshire, you have schools south in Connecticut and Rhode Island, and Boston and UMass Dartmouth to a smaller extent. I mean, they're a little bit farther south, a bit closer to those teams in Connecticut and Rhode Island. The Beacons sort of are the center of the conference geographically, and Charlie Titus has certainly been a cornerstone of Little East Conference basketball, being there from the beginning, alongside a couple other coaches, Brian Baptiste at UMass Dartmouth, and of course Western Connecticut State coach of 31 years, not too far behind Charlie Titus, for Bob Campbell.
Stephen McGuire knocks down another 2.
Phenomenal game for Stephen, 13 points now, 5 of 6 shooting.
Tie up here, stays in Colonial's possession.
Doug, you get the feeling 10:07 to go. Western's capable of getting back into this game for sure, but I haven't necessarily gotten the feeling at any point that they were going to. They just haven't been able to put enough strong possessions in a row, and the Beacons have been very good getting out into transition all game long, getting those easy buckets that make it tough to make up a deficit.
Yeah, they've definitely, first of all, they've held the Colonials to a very poor shooting day. And at the other end, as you mentioned, they've been ready to push the issue after they get the rebounds off those missed shots and get the easy lay-ins. An attempt for an easy lay-in there, but good recovery there by the Beacons. They'll kick it back out as Selden will knock down a 3 for the Colonials. Back at the other end, Joseph with the lay-in, taking on one of the better defensive players in today's game, Lewis Britter.
Yeah, but that's a mismatch. Carl Joseph, one of the top 5 scorers in the conference. He's so confident in his ability to handle his body in the air. Even if he couldn't finish, he thought he was going to get the foul. And Joseph gets a lot of that because of his high jumping. You learn to contort the body to get over the bar, and Carl's one of the best at it in the entire country. 3-time All-American, has jumped over 7 feet tall, which is just unheard of at the Division III level. And Joseph, another bucket there as he's close to his season total with 16. Season average, I should say.
Joseph with the ball right now. Goes inside to Young. Young with the lay-in. Leads back up to 13.
That's a nice little move between 2 of the better scorers for the Beacons. Joseph being unselfish and Young a nice little finish.
This is Britter going to the basket. Bounce on the rim. Can't get it to go. And we're going to get a foul here.
That's a good foul as Gregory Young had Joseph wide. open up ahead, and now Young, you've seen him on the last 2 possessions. He's definitely wincing in pain. It looks like he's now holding onto that left knee. Hopefully it's just a cramp or something like that, because the Beacons desperately need him available for Tuesday's game. So he'll head to the line here for the 1-and-1, and then I believe he'll be checking out with Fred Epps at the scorer's table waiting for the shooter.
So Young to the line for first.
1-and-1 opportunity. And Young, not a great free throw shooter at 60%. Epps doesn't come in, so he is waiting for the shooter. But he's had a very nice game. Greg, right now, 9 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and making an impact. It hasn't been one player today for the Beacons as he's into double digits. Comes the third Beacon alongside Joseph and McGuire.
And as you mentioned, Young checking out as Epps checks into the game.
Really like the energy that Fred brought in the first half. See if he can do the same here in the second.
Marquez misses his shot, followed up by number 33, Perry. He can't get that to go at the other end. It is Ulysses going up and getting fouled.
See if that's Cassius Clay, rather.
Claudia Cassius.
Claudia Cassius, sorry.
I don't think Muhammad Ali is playing in this game.
You know, I think there was probably a little bit of thought of Muhammad Ali when they made that name, when his parents made that name, and that wasn't meant any disrespect to Claudia Cassius, but he was befuddled by the call. It was a late call. It looked like Ulysses was struggling to control it going up, but that's the 4th foul on Cassius, as that was a shooting foul. And he's the only player with 4 fouls, but Western does have a little bit of foul trouble. Britter, their leading rebounder, has 3. So those 2 players with 3 fouls or more. The Beacons don't have a player with more than 2 fouls.
As that one will go for Ulysses. 68-52 lead now for the Beacons.
They're going to call Fred Epps there. He was tangled up with Marquez. Epps can't believe it, but a little bit too much contact, and now he gives Western a chance to put some points on the board without the clock moving. Goes over there to talk to Rick Weitzman. I saw Charlie Titus' reaction. He was just incredulous at his freshman point guard, and hopefully Fred can make up for that mistake, as it gives Western's leading scorer a chance to tack on 2 points.
As you mentioned, it will be Marquez on the line, the sophomore guard. Just 4 points on the day. That'll make it 5.
Yeah, and he just hasn't gotten going today. Came off the bench, missed his first 3 attempts, hit a bank 3 from half court, and we thought maybe he'd get things going in the second half, but just he's been very, very quiet, and we'll see if he can heat up in the final couple moments of this game, down by 14.
Yeah, if they're going to come back in this game, the Colonels are going to need to get Marquez going. Good hustle there by Starks to come and break up that play.
As Gregory Young is being treated just to the left of the sideline. It looks like it's that left knee. Good sign is that he just got up. We'll see if he comes back in today's game. The Beacons were fortunate there. Benavicha never saw Starks coming from behind. Fortunately went off of Starks after he stripped Benavicha.
Ulysses hits Benavicha coming around. The edge. Epps drives baseline. Off the glass. Doesn't go.
Wasn't a shot block, but it was a clear shot altered as Epps looked like he was going to have an easy bucket. The big man came in and Epps put it up too strong off the glass.
Marquez for 3. That'll go. If they're going to work, as I just said, if they're going to work their way back into this game, Marquez is going to be a key factor.
And his 2 most memorable made shots have both been pretty surprising shots. That was a contested three-pointer well behind the three-point line, but Kendall Marquez is clearly up to the task, and 11-point game with 7:22. We still could have ourselves a very good finish.
Absolutely. And just we're having a 30-second timeout here. 11-point lead now with just about 7.5 minutes remaining here. And we should have an exciting run down the stretch. As the teams get ready to take the court once again. Marquez hitting a 3 just before that timeout to get his team back within 11. Joseph to inbound. Ulysses to the basket. Too hard off the glass. McGuire's going to get called for the foul there on Marquez, and he's going to send him to the line to shoot 1 and 1.
And Stephen McGuire just got his hand stuck in there. Marquez wouldn't give up. And Marquez, one of the better free throw shooters on this team, chance to add a couple more points. The Beacons not doing themselves any favors. UMass Boston with 18 fouls, Western with 9. This game could start to elongate over the final couple minutes. Both teams closing in on the double bonus.
Marquez makes the first, and he'll shoot the second end of the 1-1. Marquez with the chance to get the lead back down to single digits, and he does, making his second free throw. The Colonials employing a full court press now. That pass almost gets away, and then Ulysses tosses it away into the hands of Selden. Marquez to the basket. Offensive rebound, Cassius. Cassius gets fouled. Going up. So that'll be 2 shots for the senior center. Third foul on McGuire, as the Colonials have started to make this game a little bit more interesting, as they have a chance to get, well, now they have a chance to get within 8. They had a chance to get within 7 as Cassius misses the first. Agner back into the game for the Beacons.
Well, Doug, the Beacons came into the second half with a lead of 14, pushed it out to 16, just shy of their game high, and Western hasn't been even this close in over 20 minutes of game action. And these next, I'd say, 3 minutes are crucial for both teams. If UMass Boston's going to win this one going away, then they need to extend this lead out. And if Western is going to come back and earn a big win heading into the playoffs, they need to win the next 3.
Nice floater there by Benavica. Gets that one to roll in, coming back at the other end. Long 3 from Marquez. He'll get his own rebound. The floater, that'll go. Leads back down to 8. Full court press being employed by the Colonials.
And I like this move by Western. They nearly got the 10-second call, and they're going to call it now.
I was going to say, it looked like I looked over, that shot clock said 25. And I was waiting for the whistle. Eventually got it, and another turnover forced by the Colonials. That full court press is giving the Beacons a little bit of trouble. Louisant finds Selden on the wing, on the baseline. His shot doesn't go. Ulysses, they're able to get the ball into the front court. Nice little lay in there off the glass by Benavica.
Benavica has been huge right now. Carl Joseph is on the bench. Gregory Young is feeling a little bit timid, and he's been phenomenal.
Marquez with the running 3, and he's fouled. Looks like it's going to go on Young. And an untimely foul there by the Beacons, with sending Marquez to the line, one of the team's better free throw shooters, again to put more points on the board with the clock stopped. And now, with the lead just 10, Marquez has a chance to get it down to 7 with 3 free throw attempts. Marquez can't make the first. Six points on the day for the sophomore guard. 3 of those coming from the free throw line. He'll add another. One more shot for Marquez to get the lead down to 8. To get more substitutions. Trayvon Perry checks back into the game.
We try to get the live stats to catch up. Marquez had 3 points in the first half. He's up to at least 9 or 10 here. Most of his damage coming from the free throw line, but he's been a spark plug coming off the bench from both the first and second half. And this full court pressure has really gotten into the Beacons' heads a little bit when they can't get easy buckets like that.
McGuire with another lay-in. As that ball will go out of bounds and the Beacons will take over. Agner. Looking to inbound, gets the ball into the hands of Young. Nice press break there. Almost gives it away. Young able to tip it forward, picked up by Benavicha. Benavicha to the lane. Can't get it to go. Rebound. Agner gives it up to McGuire for the lay-in. McGuire having one of his better games all year. In fact, having one of his better days all year, as before the game he was honored as part of senior day and ended up proposing to his girlfriend. Got it, getting engaged. So Marquez will head back to the line as that last foul is on Carl Agner, his third. Marquez hits his first. Britter back into the game for the Colonials, and as is Phil Starks. Marquez with a chance to get it back down to 10 with just over 5 minutes remaining here in the second half. He'll do just that as the Colonials continue to press. Beacon's able to break it. Agner finds McGuire. McGuire with the floater, can't get that to go. Agner on the rebound. Tries to get it back out top. He does.
Doug, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's just the second miss for Stephen McGuire, who's having a career day as a Beacon. 17 points. Just a phenomenal showing for the senior out of Rancho Cucamonga, California. Sometimes you see senior day performances like this. This is certainly one of those ones here at UMass Boston that'll be remembered. Just like the Jim Ennis, the former UMass Boston men's hockey captain, had his only career hat trick on senior day against Southern Maine back in 2012. This is another one of those instances where a guy who doesn't see as much success offensively or doesn't see as much time coming away with a huge performance to lead his team to potentially a win. Don't want to put the Sharpie down with so much time left in this one.
And McGuire's had an excellent game here today. Excellent day here today with all that went on in the pregame, as Benavicha on the line makes them both.
Yeah, if you missed it, Steven proposed to his girlfriend before the game, and he can now call her his fiancée.
Up and under attempt there by Selden. Rebound comes to Britter. Britter looking inside to Starks. Got bumped. And that will stay Colonial's ball. Marquez to inbound from the baseline. Beacons lead by 12. Just about 4.5 minutes left here. Marquez having trouble getting it inbounds. And eventually just ends up tossing it away into the hands of Carl Agner. Long lead pass to Gregory Young. Can't make the easy lay-in there.
And that's that injury that's bothering him a little bit. We saw him leave, and Gregory normally would put that down with two hands. Instead, tried to just float it in over the rim, unable to put it up. It was a great feed from Luke Ulysses.
Britter gets fouled going to the lane. Looks like this one's going to be on McGuire.
Yeah, McGuire tried to come away with the block, unable to do so against the slightly taller Britter. And Western Connecticut State. It's been a parade to the free throw line here in the second half after the Colonials managed to get to the line just 7 times in the first half. It's keeping them within striking distance here in the second half.
As Britter, makes the first. Carl Joseph back into the game.
It's funny, Stephen normally doesn't play that much time. Stephen McGuire there. He thought he was getting checked out. Instead, it's Gregory Young. Stephen McGuire's been one of the Beacons' not only best offensive options, but best players overall.
So Britter knocks down his second free throw, and his coach will take the timeout there.
Take a timeout along with the teams, full timeout, and then we'll be back with another look at Charlie Titus.
We're here at the police station for giving back to the community, having fun at the Halloween haunted house.
We decorate all the cells, create a haunted house for the kids, and by 9 o'clock tonight, it's back to our actual prison cell again. We reached out to community groups, the local colleges, UMass. They love to work with us. We have a great relationship with UMass, so it was incredible to have the kids and the students come in and help us scare the children.
Halloween is just such a great time of year, and it's great to see all the kids having fun and helping them out.
I'd definitely be back for next year.
All right, welcome back. Beacons hold a 10-point lead, 78-68 here on Senior Day. Couple of those seniors, Carl Joseph, Stephen McGuire, helping lead the team in scoring. Also in double digits is senior forward Gregory Young. As a lot of players having an influence on today's game. 8 different scorers for the Beacons, who will now inbound from the baseline with about 4 minutes remaining here. I'd like to remind you that after today's game, there will be a ceremony honoring Coach Titus. While we won't be able to bring that to you live, that will be available later today online.
Well, let's say
later online.
Yeah, let's say Monday. It could be a ceremony up to 45 minutes. I don't know how late I want to stay tonight uploading that on YouTube.
As this is Britter going to the lane, getting the bucket. Also later tonight, men's hockey game, 7 o'clock, playoff ECAC East action. Ulysses gets it back, Agnor. He's going to get called for the offense. Nope.
Should have been called for the offensive foul. There was definitely a push-up. They give the foul the hold earlier. Doug, I think we were on the same page. It's Trayvon Perry's 3rd foul. And that time the Beacons were purposely slowing down the pace, trying to kill off a little clock, shot clock under 10. And now Agnor will get a pair here as both teams in the double bonus.
And he'll knock down the first. Agnor with his second. He'll make them both. Three minutes remaining here. As Marquez will turn that over, Agnor at the other end lays it off the glass. Fast break basket extends the lead back to 14.
That was a man move by Carl Agnor. A little bit of a bump on Marquez, not enough for the foul. Ripped it out of Marquez's hands as he was trying for the tie-up, and then took it down the court. And Carl Agnor, too classy apparently to dunk. I don't have an issue with it as he gets the 2 points.
Britter added a basket on the other end. And that one's put back in by Stephen McGuire. Having another big game.
Shooting close to 80% from the field. Phenomenal day for the Rancho Cucamonga native.
As that lay-in was going to go for Selden. He got fouled on the play.
And then UMass Boston on the other end. Another foul, another and one. Every time it looks like the Beacons are going to run away with it, Western keeps staying just close enough to keep you interested, at least us interested. I don't know about you at home, but it's been one of those games as Stephen McGuire heads to the bench, and that's a great moment right there as Stephen will be done for the game. That was his 5th foul, I believe. Bob Campbell comes over and shakes the hand of the young man who's having such a tremendous day. Really classy move on Bob Campbell's part. And what a day for Stephen McGuire, who fouls out with 2:17 remaining and easily his best day as a Beacon in his 2 years.
That free throw doesn't go as the Beacons come back the other way. Benavicia looked like he wanted to shoot it, but wisely backs it back out as they'll milk some more time off this clock. Ulysses is going to drive and then rethink it. 15 seconds on the shot clock. He'll take a 3. Pulled down by Selden. Way downtown there by Marquez. And it doesn't go. Nice ball movement there. A big finish by Gregory Young.
That's just tremendous for UMass Boston. Benavicia unselfish, and Gregory Young making sure that he was going to get full flight that time on the dunk.
And back at the other end, Selden knocks down a 3. And we'll get a 30-second timeout from Western Connecticut State.
Well, Western Connecticut State has scored 51 points in this half. 26 in the first, they're up to 77. But the Beacons have scored 48. This has been an offensive performance. There's been very little defense here in the second half, but what a performance by UMass Boston. 88 points to show off for the fans, and that one sort of the cherry on top. Although, and at 25 after that three-pointer, it's still not completely decided today.
Right. And we knew that this Western Connecticut team could score. The question was, would UMass Boston be able to match them as they started to heat up? And I think we've seen that they've been able to.
I mean, the Beacons have scored in bunches at points this season. When they're able to run, when they're able to get those points in the paint, to get some easy looks at the basket. They put up 97 against Newberry. They put up 97 against Keene, 97 against Pine Manor, 96 against Keene State. And right now they have a chance to get into the 90s again today. The Beacons averaging 75 points. They're no slouches.
Right.
But they have had some games, especially against tough conference opponents, where they've struggled to score and stick in games.
Agnor gives it back to Young. 4-3. He hits.
Carl Agnor does not look like a big man with those dribbling abilities. And Gregory Young heating up a little bit here towards the end. 5 straight points to put this one back to a 14-point lead, and that should pretty much do it.
15 on the night for Young. As we're going to get a travel on Starks. So the Beacons will take over with 46 seconds remaining here in this game.
Yeah, 46 seconds, and 4 of the 5 seniors out there. Stephen McGuire, the only one not out there, he fouled out. Actually, 3 of the 4. Ivan Cutts has been on the bench for a large portion of the second half, but did see more minutes than normal, had a better game than he's had all year. And be interesting to see if Charlie Titus takes a timeout really late in this game to bring those guys off the floor, if he'll leave them out there to get a round of applause after the game.
Benavicia taking his time as the Beacons will just wait this one out. He will have to take a shot as there's 10-second difference between the shot clock and game clock. It'll be Agner taking that shot, and he'll get it to go.
The fadeaway baseline jumper. Carl Agnor showing off all the moves today.
Checking into the game, Trey Quell Douglas for the Colonials. His shot doesn't go, but that's rebounded by Tate, who's able to put it in. And that'll do it. Oh, as there's a little bit of extra stuff here at the end of the game here.
Yeah, that was Cassius Clay, and now Salim Omarovich gets in front of him. There's some pushing and shoving. So the last thing you want is Carl Joseph gets pushed down. And this is not what either side's want. A suspension would be, any kind of fight would cause those teams. Stephen McGuire fouled out, and he's the first one in there trying to break things up and not create any kind of conflict, as multiple Beacons got into it with the Colonials. We'll see what the referees rule. Hopefully nothing comes out of this, as that could potentially lead to a suspension for the playoffs. But Luke Ulysses wasn't happy with the Western Connecticut State player putting his hands in there, and then it could have ended there. Western player shoved, and then there was another big shove from a Western player, as the Western team clearly upset. There's a Western player right now with his jersey off, and the biggest parts came after a Beacon started it, but the biggest parts came from Western, and we'll see. The conference commissioner sitting in the second row. If anything happens, well, there's probably not going to be much of a review process with Cora Brumley sitting right there. As Doug, fortunately it ended that quickly. Nothing will end up happening, at least thus far, from the referees. So hopefully all these players will be eligible to play in the tournament on Tuesdays. Both teams huddling around their coaches right now. Doesn't do anything to take away from the Beacons' big win today. They go into the conference tournament playing as well as they have all season long. 4 straight wins over conference opponents after a really slow start to conference play, in which they were 2-8, 4 consecutive wins to run it off. They're 14-11, their most wins since the 05-06 season, and this team is really playing some pretty good basketball heading into the tournament, as they will take on UMass Dartmouth on Tuesday night.
Yeah, that's exactly when you want to be playing your best basketball, at the end of the season. On the other hand, as we mentioned during the broadcast, Western Connecticut has struggled a little bit. They started to pick it up here in the end, and hopefully for them, they'll be able to carry that into their playoff run, because otherwise they're going to have some trouble in the tournament with the lower point totals that they've been putting up as late.
Yeah, well, with 3 straight losses to end the regular season, and then the frustration came out right there. I mean, there's still a Western Connecticut State player who's being calmed down by Louis Saint on the sidelines. The Beacons have calmed down pretty quickly, but I don't quite know what trash talk was being said, because let's be honest, it's college basketball. There's trash talk being said the entire game, but there's one player in particular, and he has his jersey off, so we don't know the number, but he just is incensed on the sideline, cannot calm down. And if I had to guess, that player could be seeing a suspension for the next game, because there was a pretty brutal push where Carl Joseph, not a small guy, was thrown to the ground. So Charlie Titus over there with Bob Campbell, longtime friends, longtime coaches in this conference, and we're going to see what happens. Their referees are talking it over. We'll see what happens. There's 1.2 seconds left on the clock. They're not going to play these seconds, if I can imagine. We'll hear from the official PA announcement, and then we're going to wrap this one up. As late in the game, there was a shot with about 7 seconds left. Kendall Marquez had the ball, and we're going to try to bring this up on our preview monitor. You won't be able to see it at home, but we're going to try to see what maybe incited it. It's just a difficult finish to this one on just such a great day for the Beacons. 5 seniors for Charlie Titus. The Beacons we're supposed to be honoring Charlie right now. The idea was to have the ceremony wrapped up from 5 to 5:30. The game started late. It's already closing in on 6 o'clock. And just a difficult way to finish this one off. I don't want to use the word tarnish, because I don't think it does, but we'll see what technical fouls and potential suspensions are issued. There's definitely going to be at least a technical foul. See past that, as the Western player is now all by himself behind the bleachers. Just an interesting thing is we're going to have it here in preview. Both benches cleared, and Luke Ulysses is going to be issued with is going to head to the free throw line to shoot the 2 technical free throws.
Makes them both. It's going to be number 32, Selden, taking the technical free throws for Western Connecticut. As this is all academic, as the result has already been decided. He'll miss both of his.
16-point game, 1.2 seconds to play. 2 technical fouls issued. They didn't announce to whom. Western's back out on the court. UMass Boston hasn't sent 5 out there. They're going to give Western the ball. And no, they're just going to
wrap it up.
So you might have to wait for the box scores from this one, but a little bit of a scuffle at the end, and we're going to head to a commercial break right now, and then we'll be back with the final statistics as UMass Boston defeats Western Connecticut State 95-79.
Paris changed my life, and I got there through UMass. Those very specific seminal moments in Paris. The subway. A man in a tuxedo walked in, and a woman in a long gown. And it was stunning. It all hit me. It was like a lightning bolt. There was this world of beauty and style that I wanted to be a part of. That was the beginning of the journey. And that all came through the University of Massachusetts. And that was really a key moment for me. That's one of those moments you never forget.
The University of Massachusetts Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university with a teaching soul.
Come on, Jake.
As usual, she wins it. A chance in front. Her shot is in the net. Crystal Layden. Yet another goal.
Please make a gift to the Beacon Athletic Fund today. We want you on our team.
All right, welcome back.
Final score of today's game, UMass Boston 95, Western Connecticut State 79 after those technical free throws. Beacons coming away with the victory. UMass Boston improves to 14-11. Western Connecticut State falls with the loss. They end up at 14-11 as well. As we're going to wrap it up right now, we've got to head over to men's hockey, but we will have this entire presentation available for you later on YouTube, most likely on Monday, of the Charlie Titus presentation as he finishes up his 40 years as a Beacon. It's been 32 years since UMass Boston men's hockey entered the postseason as hot as they are right now. Winners of 7 in a row and sporting the best record in the nation, the 6th-ranked Beacons are looking to make some history in their pursuit of the program's first ever ECAC East title. It won't be an easy road, though, as second-seeded UMass Boston have 2-time defending ECAC East tournament champions Babson College and top-seeded Norwich University looming in the weeks to come. The pursuit of a tournament title starts now. Get it, Houston for Cornell. Cornell has a howitzer. Yes, sir! Did Cornell the game-winning, and the Beacons with 1:18 to go have earned their 20th victory.
Steven out there along with the Beacons top line looking for assistance in the form of a senior. John Houston, left and score!
Honor roll student is That shot doesn't get through. Mike June able to knock it down. Pass in front, and it's Stephen Bucco one-on-one with the goalie. Bucco shot, score!
5-on-5 in sudden death overtime. From a bad angle, rebound and score! Colin Larkin has won it for UMass Boston in sudden death overtime. 4-3, Beacons win it.
Hello and welcome back to the Beacons Ice Arena. My name is Seth Dorensky, joined by my partner Matt Meisenbacher for what promises to be an exciting ECAC East quarterfinal matchup between the second-seeded UMass Boston Beacons and the seventh-seeded Skidmore College Thoroughbreds. And Matt, this is only the second all-time matchup between these two teams in the postseason. You were there for the first one, a difficult loss for the Beacons. I'm sure that John Houston, Mike Kuhn, and a couple members of the coaching staff would like some redemption after that 2012 ECAC East quarterfinal loss.
Yeah, that was my freshman year, and absolutely. I mean, you remember that type of stuff. That was the first time I really experienced, watching a senior class. Most of the careers were over at that point. It's a tough pill to swallow, and today I know, like you mentioned, that's going to be in the memory of some guys who witnessed that as well, but definitely more on a positive note, a team that's really coming in. They've looked good, obviously, with the win against Norwich, and is coming in full steam.
We'll check out the team statistics right now, and it's a matchup of two teams who on paper it's a big mismatch. UMass Boston third in the country in scoring. UMass Boston also towards the top of the nation in defense. You look at the numbers, Skidmore last in scoring defense and second to last in scoring offense. Matt, what pops off the page for you?
Yeah, I mean, you can see the discrepancies in the stats pretty much all the way through. The penalty kill is the only thing that's relatively close. But the one thing that should be noted is it's playoff time, and everything. It's almost as if every team has is 0-0 starting fresh. The playoffs bring a whole new scenario, and a goalie can steal you a game, especially in this type of playoff format. It's not a series; it's a one-win or go home type style. And if a goaltender stands on his head, you can find yourself on the wrong end of that.
Check out the team leaders right now, UMass Boston, with all those offensive weapons. Stephen Bucco, the number one weapon, a first-team all-conference player for the Beacons. 14 goals, 30 assists, and 44 total points. But the player who has really been a standout for UMass Boston over the past 8 games has been Billy Faust.
Yeah, Billy Faust is just standing on top of his head. I mean, the kid hadn't lost in the regular season. It's an incredible stat to say you've played in 11 or 12 games and didn't post a loss. So the kid's really been playing well, and you're going to look for him in the playoffs. I mean, he's been here before. He's a seasoned guy now. He's got a lot of experience under his belt. He knows the team. Even though he's a transfer, he's definitely one with the locker room, and look for a big performance from him tonight.
Yeah, Billy is 7-0-0 in his last 8 appearances, 12-0-1 on the season. We'll take a look deeper into this matchup right now as we bring you head coach Peter Belisle. Had some thoughts not only on today's matchup, but how this team may be a little bit different than the past 2 years.
I thought, in the second period of the Friday night's game, the St. Mike's game, we played very poorly, and we were able to kind of get out of that hole and play pretty well in the third and well enough in overtime to win. And then on Saturday, with senior day, was an
My name's Albie Daly. I'm from Able Park, New York. I'm a forward on the UMass Boston.
Get it, Houston.
I thought, in the second period of the Friday night's game, the St. Mike's game, we played very poorly, and we were able to kind of get out of that hole and play pretty well in the third and well enough in overtime to win. And then on Saturday, with senior day, was an emotional day, and it always is. And I think the guys really give a little bit extra for the seniors on senior day, and that's typically what I've seen in the past. And then with the motivation of, playing Norwich at number 1 on senior day, the guys gave a fantastic effort. And, I hope it bodes well into moving us into this next playoff season. But, that's in the past. So now it's... we're concentrating on one game at a time. Yeah, they got a very good goalie. In the game of hockey, a goalie can steal a game. So we can't let that happen. We've got to get traffic. We've got to continue to get as many shots as we can. We've got to stay disciplined. We've got to play good team defense. All the things that we've been doing and preaching all year long. And we're going to have to do it at Saturday night at 7 o'clock. No, certainly very proud of the accomplishments, but, our ultimate goal when we were met here in September as a group was to win the ECAC championship, and we've positioned ourselves well. But now is, a time when it really starts. This is start of playoff hockey. Losers go home. So it's a big tournament. It's something we want desperately. Certainly proud of what we have accomplished, during the year here. But certainly not celebrating, because we'd love to celebrate an ECAC championship. That's our ultimate goal. I think it's the best team we've ever had in my tenure to going into playoffs, and I've told these guys that, so we know that. So I think we're confident in our ability, in our skill level, the firepower that we have, goaltending that we have, the way our defense is playing right now. I know the guys want it bad, and they want it bad just as bad as I do. I think it is different than other years, because I think this year we really can taste it more so than other years. I mean, we had good teams and we were contenders, but this year I think we are really a contender to potentially win this thing.
That was head coach Peter Belisle, the ninth-year head coach, who's having a phenomenal season this year. The Beacons 21-3-1, tied for first in the country with number 2 Norwich now for the best record in the country. We'll take a look at the all-time series. The Beacons do trail Skidmore, but a very impressive number. 7-game unbeaten streak. The Beacons have won 4 and tied 3 in the season series, not even close. Final score 9-2, a 6-1 win here, 3-1 win at Skidmore.